Hello, everybody, and welcome to Round 9, the semifinals of the 2024 Republican primary spinner battle. We've got three Titans left: South Carolina Senator Tim Scott, former governor of New Jersey Chris Christie, and mayor of Miami Francis Suarez. Last time we had to cut the biggest name out there, that was Donald Trump. He was outmatched at the very end. So these three guys are out for the crown. Who's going to get it? Make your predictions below. Place your bets. Whatever you want to do. There's a lot of great comments each time. I like the fan base that develops for each of these candidates. Let's hope your candidate goes on to the finals. It's not about who finishes first. It's about who finishes in last. The lowest total is going to get the axe. It's going to be Scott, Christie, or Suarez. So let's end the suspense. Sit back and relax. Let's get started in Alaska. That has 3 electoral votes. Let's spin it. Who's going to get on round 9 first? That's number 3. That is Francis Suarez. There it is, and we're underway. Now we go to Hawaii. 4 electoral votes. This is going to go to number 2. We've got Chris Christie. He takes the lead. He's on the map. Next state is back up to Washington. That has 12 electoral votes. Let's see if Tim Scott can join in. He does. Number 1, Tim Scott. He takes Washington and he's in the lead. Next state, Oregon, 8 electoral votes. This is going to go to number 2. We've got Chris Christie. He takes Oregon. Tie for first place. Next state, California, 54 electoral votes. This is a pivotal cushion for somebody early on. At this point, with only 3 candidates, it does not mean you're going to go on to the next round. But let's spin it. Let's see who's going to get all these electoral votes. It's number 3. It's Francis Suarez. He sets the tone early. He takes California. Next state, Nevada, 6 electoral votes. That's number 2. That is Chris Christie. He's going to take Nevada. Now we've got Idaho. That has 4 electoral votes up for grabs. And that's a number 3. That's Suarez. He's got 4 more. And that takes us to Utah. 6 more votes up for grabs. And those are going to go to number 2, Chris Christie. So we've got 6 more for Christie. And that takes us to Arizona. 11 electoral votes. Number 2, Christie has 2 straight. Now we go up to Montana. That has 4 electoral votes. And that's number 2, right on the line, but that's Chris Christie going 3 straight. Next state, Wyoming. Only 3 electoral votes, but they might matter later on, and that's Chris Christie again. 4-bagger for Christie as we go down to Colorado. 10 electoral votes. Number 2, look at Chris Christie. He's going on a huge tear. He's almost in first place. Tim Scott only at 12. Plenty of time left. Let's go to New Mexico. This has 5 votes, and those are going to go to also Chris Christie with 6 straight. Look at Christie's streak through the West. He's right behind Suarez now as we go up to North Dakota. That's going to be 3 more electoral votes, and that's going to go to Tim Scott. Tim Scott back out of the drought. Let's see if he has any momentum into South Dakota. That's the next spin. That state is going to go to Chris Christie. He's got it. Now we go to Nebraska at large. Only 2 electoral votes. Who's going to get him? It's Chris Christie again. Why not? He's got him. Next spin. Nebraska's first. That's a 3. That's going to go to Suarez. He's going to get 1 more electoral vote as we go to Nebraska's second. Another electoral vote up for grabs. Tim Scott, he's going to snag that. And Nebraska's third. That's next. That's a 2 for Chris Christie. And look at that, Chris Christie is now in the lead over Francis Suarez. California was not enough to save Suarez so far. Next state, Kansas. 6 votes. And those are going to go in the Chris Christie column yet again. Christie dominating the state so far, but we've got some big states coming up. Let's go to Oklahoma. There's 7 here at stake. Those are going to go to Chris Christie again. Christie not going to wait till the end this time. He's built up a mountain of states, and he has a 14 electoral vote lead to show for it. But look at the next state. It's Texas. That has 40 electoral votes. Tim Scott would love to see a number 1 here. Let's spin it. Who's going to get him? It's number 2, Chris Christie yet again. This is a very dominant performance so far, but who knows, there could be some surprises in store on the East Coast. Let's go up to Minnesota. We've got 10 more votes. And those are going to go to number 1, Tim Scott. Scott now into the 20s as we go down to Iowa. That has 6 more votes. That is number 3. That's going to go to Suarez. Now we've got Missouri, 10 more electoral votes. And those are going to go to number 1. We've got Tim Scott now, putting 10 more in his column. How about Arkansas? That has 6 more electoral votes. And those are going to go to number 3. We've got Francis Suarez. Next state, Louisiana. Those 8 votes are going to go to number 1, Tim Scott. So finally, a little bit of a dry spell for Chris Christie as we go all the way back up to Wisconsin. There's 10 more electoral votes, and those are going to be snagged by number 3, Francis Suarez. 19 votes here in the next state. That's Illinois. That's a good chunk, and that's going to go to number 1, Tim Scott. Scott trying to claw his way back into this. Let's see what happens on Michigan. That's the next spin. That's number 3. That's Francis Suarez. He takes Michigan as we go down to Indiana. Another 11 electoral votes up for grabs. Number 1, Tim Scott. He's going to take those. The next spin is Kentucky. There's 8 more electoral votes here, and that's number 1, Tim Scott. Another one for Scott as we go down to Tennessee. 11 electoral votes. Look at that. Tim Scott again. Scott now with some momentum as we go down to Mississippi. That has 6 electoral votes. That's number 2, Chris Christie. We haven't heard from him in a while. And now we can go next door to Alabama. 9 votes here. Number 2, Chris Christie. He's going to go back to back. And that takes us down to Florida. Let's see where things are at. It's actually a fairly close race. We've got Chris Christie in the lead with 131, but Suarez and Scott are both in the 90s. So this is anybody's game. And with 30 electoral votes at stake in Florida, this is a crucial state. Let's spin it. Here it comes. Who's going to get it? Number 3, Francis Suarez. He takes his home state of Florida. Now he's right behind Chris Christie. Let's go on to Georgia. Here comes 16 electoral votes. Going to somebody. Number 2, Chris Christie. He's got 16 more in his column. Now we've got South Carolina. This is Tim Scott's home state. Let's see what he does. Here's the spin. Can he get it? No, he can't. That's going to Francis Suarez. He's got 9 more under his belt. As we go to North Carolina, 16 more votes. That's a lot. Going to number 2, Chris Christie. Christie has another state as we go up to Ohio. 17 electoral votes. These are going to go to number 2, Chris Christie. Christie now at 180. Next state, West Virginia. 4 electoral votes. Number 1, Tim Scott. He's got 4 more. As we go up to the corner, Maine at large. There's 2 electoral votes. Up for grabs. Coming to number 2, Chris Christie. He's got 2 more. Next spin, Maine's first. A single electoral vote. Going to Chris Christie again. How about Maine's second? 1 more vote. Those are also going to go to Chris Christie. Now we've got New Hampshire. There's 4 electoral votes here. And those are going to go to number 3, Francis Suarez. Next spin, Vermont. 3 electoral votes. Number 1, Tim Scott. That puts him at 100. Everybody in triple digits now. And the next spin is for New York. This has 28 electoral votes. Tim Scott, he's trailing. He could turn it all around right here if he gets to 1. I haven't done the math, but Chris Christie likely to move on at this point. It's getting down to the end. Here it is. Let's spin it. Who's going to get New York? It is number 1, Tim Scott. He needed it, and he got it. Excellent timing there for Scott. Let's go next door to Massachusetts. 11 electoral votes. Number 1, Tim Scott again. He takes Massachusetts, and now he's right behind Francis Suarez. Let's go south to Connecticut. There's 7 electoral votes here. That's a number 2. That's going to Chris Christie. Let's go next door to Rhode Island. 4 more votes. And those are going to be taken by number 3, Francis Suarez. The next spin is going to be New Jersey. That's Chris Christie's home state. He's probably moving on, but let's see if he can win it. Who's going to get him? It is Chris Christie. He wins his home state. That puts him over 200. The next spin is Delaware. Only 3 votes here. Those are going to number 1, Tim Scott. He's got him. Next spin, Maryland. That has 10 electoral votes. Who's going to get these? It's number 2. It's Chris Christie. He's got him. The next spin is Washington, D.C. 3 electoral votes. And those are going to number 2, Chris Christie again. So we've got 2 states left. We've got Pennsylvania and Virginia. Chris Christie is moving on to the final round, but we have an absolute battle for second place. It all comes down to these 2 spins. Francis Suarez can shut out Tim Scott here if he gets Pennsylvania. But right now Tim Scott is in last place. He does have to win at least one of these 2 states. So let's see what happens. Here comes Pennsylvania. Who's going to get the votes? It's number 3. It's Francis Suarez. He takes Pennsylvania. And that means Tim Scott is shut out. He will finish in last place. We do have one more spin. It is Virginia. Let's do it. Who's going to get these 13 votes? And it is Tim Scott. How about that? He takes Virginia for the last spin. And the final total is Chris Christie moving on with 218. Francis Suarez in second place with 165. Tim Scott just misses the cut. He gets in last with 155. So Scott gave it everything he had. He just falls short here in round 9. And how about this map? Francis Suarez, he takes California, but he almost got eliminated. Chris Christie goes on an epic tear down the middle of the country, but he has a strong performance. Close battle for the bottom, but Tim Scott finishes in third place. So we've got one round to go. Did you have Christie and Suarez facing off in the finals? Are you sad about Tim Scott? Who is going to win it all? Final round coming up soon. Let me know in the comments. Who's your pick to win? Is your candidate in the finals? Let me know down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to support the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.